Do you work from photos of flowers or your memory when painting your florals?
Well, it's actually neither. I just sort of create out of my own head, you might say, but yeah, it's more a matter of what technique I'm inspired by at the moment, and also what colors I'm inspired by at the moment. So no, there's not a bundle of flowers in front of me that I'm copying. It's just sort of like what I'm in the mood to paint that day.
Love it. Yeah, let's go to the next. Many of your pieces are on found wood or repurposed canvas. Is sustainability important to your practice as an artist?
I would say yes. Like most of us, you know, we have to start paying attention to what we're doing to the planet. But there's also a certain thrill to grabbing something old and you know, slapping some primer on it and making it, and then painting on it and making it something, upcycling it and making it something beautiful. I've watched several documentaries about Basquiat and how he would just grab refrigerator doors and pieces of wood, and as long as it's primed properly, there's no reason to not use a refrigerator door or a piece of wood. Wood can bend or warp, but you know, as long as it's a good solid foundation with a good primer on it, it can be exciting to work with found objects.
Love that. When I visited your studio, I noticed the collection of house paint. What types of paints do you use, and what are your favorite tools?
For the most part, I use house paints because in my mind, with my technique, there's no reason not to. I buy it by the gallon. Usually I will buy it from the mist tinted section where someone's already, you know, mixed up that color, but they didn't come back for it, or it was the wrong color. So I'm not buying it fresh off the shelf. I'll get it from the mist tinted section, but then I'll also get, you know, people will drop off paint for me, and I will grab, you know, old cans of paint that I find, or get them at the store. And again, there's no reason why I can't be using those paints. So I do.
Do you have an apron that you wear, or a special outfit that is your painting outfit? Do you like put on overall?
No, but I should. I'll often end up in bare feet with paint all over my feet, and it's just like it's just a big mess. But I need to get better about being neat. But I feel like there's a certain, you know, it's like having a mud fight. There, you know, there's certain spontaneity of and thrill and fun in just creating a mess, as long as you have an intention and you know where you're going with it.
How long have you had your studio at Hunters Point, and what has it meant for you to have this sacred space, especially in the last year?
Well, I think I started probably 1998 or 99. I'm out at Hunters Point Shipyard, where there are about 250 studios, work only. I love my studio. I've been here in this specific space in the big building 101 since probably 2005. But I'm on the top floor. I've got like 8 windows overlooking the bay, and the shipyard is just this crumbling beauty. So I guess I've been out about 22 years, and I just feel so fortunate when the pandemic came and the very initial super strict shelter in place. I was able to, you know, get into my car and drive all the way out here, and without seeing anyone, just get into my studio, shut the door, and, you know, was safe. I love my studio. So I felt, you know, as everyone was having to work from home, you know, I was still, it really didn't disrupt my work schedule at all. I'm very lucky.
How did you discover oil paint, and how does it transform your art?
Well, when I went to college and got my bachelor's in art. I actually focused on sculpture, which was kind of my first love. And then out of college, moving to the city, I welded a lot and worked with plaster, and that's kind of hard to do. So I kind of shifted to charcoal pastel on paper. And I did that almost exclusively for like 10 years. And what you find is it's a wonderful medium. It's really soft, and blending is a lot of fun, but you have to plan your white spaces, because it's once you lay a black down, you can't lighten it. So at a certain point, I just shifted to oil paint. I hadn't taken any classes in college in oil painting. I'm self-taught, but the freedom to be able to take an area that was black and go to, a buff titanium, just a lighter colors, for me and my process of not knowing exactly, just doing exactly what I think I'm going to do, but allowing for that sort of meander and things to evolve and change and move things around. So I think it was really out of necessity. And also oil paint is just so rich, and the color is just beautiful. I like that it stays wet too. I can keep it wet for quite a while. And that means every day when I come in, I can kind of still keep working on areas.
Well, and you mentioned that sometimes you spend years working on pieces. How do you know when a piece is done, and how does the varnish transform the pieces even more?
I think, yeah, it's that funny thing. It's the piece starts slowing down for me. I think that's the best way to describe it. I'll look at something and it evolves and changes, and I'm like, well, I like where it's going, where it's at. And then it's like, if it just spends more and more time on the easel without me really working on it, it's slow. I'm just looking at it a lot more, and there's less and less I want to touch. That's kind of it telling me it's done. Like the piece behind me is pretty much, it's there. I do need to varnish it, and that is a fun part, because when you lay the varnish down on an oil paint, especially this one, I started like, I think 2016, so it's been kicking around for a while. But laying down that varnish is like, I describe it like holding a rock in the water, how the colors, they're there, but they just get richer and more vibrant. So it's kind of the final reveal. It's exciting. It kind of comes alive, because it's got a little bit of a sheen to it. And it's just like punctuates it. It's like, I'm ready.
So you used to like to travel a lot when before the pandemic. You would go and paint. You'll have to remind me where it was, but if you, after this is all done and we're able to travel, have grand adventures again, where will yours be?
I'm perfectly happy where I am. It's what springs me out of bed and gets me out to the studio. I just love being here, and I love the city. But I have to say, I can't wait to travel again. I can't wait to, I guess, as we were speaking, I've been going to France the last few years, and I'm, especially the countryside in the Loire. And the place I've really been wanting to go are the cave paintings in the southwest of France. I just think, seeing, I think was it, help me out, Vin Vendor's Caves of Forgotten Dreams. I think it's Vin Vendors. I might have the wrong director, but it was all about the cave paintings. It just seems so magical that people were painting these just incredibly lifelike, and yet just lyrical almost, sets of bison. And I just think that's so fascinating. It's like this humanity that reaches across, what, 35,000 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to the masters and visit their work.
Well, and I think we'll all have a whole different experience. Like we'll almost be like children going to these different places and experiencing in a way where we really deeply appreciate. Never take anything for granted anymore. You mentioned a connection to the fashion industry with your family. I was curious about that.
Like I mentioned, like growing up in India, like the society is divided into castes, subcastes. So I come from the weavers community, and so when I visit India, I've been traveling to all these weavers communities and looking at actual weaving process, and I came across this leftover silk fibers that come from the looms, which they actually don't need it. And I started gathering those and bringing it back home, and I started making some other forms of work where I wrapped silk fibers onto plexi tubes. And eventually in this series, I decided to combine both my sculpture series and my painting together. And somehow I just wanted to kind of put them together. I mean, during lockdown, I started experimenting quite a bit with trying to combine fibers with my paintings. And so this particular series, even though you can't really see it, they have base layers of fibers under with the vibrant colors, which are made to look like fabric.
And that's more reason for people to come see all these gorgeous pieces in person, so that you can really see all the textures and all the details. In the past, you've used Q-tips as your art and your muse and your medium for your photography. Where did you use them in this series as well?
Yeah, so the little circles you see on my paintings, they are made with Q-tips as brushes. I add like a coat of paint, and then I use the Q-tips as to make the circles. Each circle for me is like a knot, like a woven knot. Although I have not personally sat on a loom and woven anything myself, but this for me is an alternate form of weaving. And just it, yeah.
I love that idea, and it's so meditative too.
Yeah, the work I do is pretty much a meditative process, whether it's making these circles or whether I'm kind of wrapping silk thread on tubes, or I'm making garlands, or arranging the Q-tips. Yeah, pretty much all my work is a meditative work process. It's kind of calming and grounding for me.
And so during the pandemic, were you able to go into your studio, or did you create more of a home studio?
I pretty much worked from home.
Okay.
And rather than trying to do like more of mass production, I just did a lot of experimenting. Like the series came through those experimentations of just figuring out ways to try and combine these really fine silk thread with my painting process. Yeah, I had to give it several tries because there were times when the fiber just like soaked up all the paint, and it wouldn't cooperate. And there was a lot of experimenting I did, and eventually I'm kind of excited that I'm making it work. And you have to go and check out the pieces in the gallery, because somehow these paintings with the fiber underlayers, as you approach it closer, they tend to come alive. At least personally for me, like when I'm looking at my other paintings versus these, as I approach closer, I just feel like there's some kind of a real life to them.
I love getting to spend time with them and just see how they transform as the gallery light changes as well.